Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vidam Scha Om Ajnana Timaranda Sha Gyanachana Shilakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurukam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Shelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Varam Vandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyasishwara Shridharam Vanshakopatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurachavishe Namah. We're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is the Adi-lila, Chapter 6, the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. The truth of Adwaita Acharya has been described in 2 verses. It is said that material nature has 2 features, namely the material cause and the efficient cause. The efficient causal activities are caused by Maha-Vishnu, and the material causal activities are caused by another form of Maha-Vishnu known as Adwaita. That Adwaita, the superintendent of the cosmic manifestation, has descended in the form of Adwaita Acharya to associate with Lord Chaitanya. When he is addressed as the servitor of Lord Chaitanya, his glories are magnified, because unless one is invigorated by this mentality of servitorship, one cannot understand the mellows derived from devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Bandetam Shrimad Adwaita Charyam Adbhuta Chestitam Yashya Prasadad Agyopi Tat Svarupam Nirupayed. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Adwaita Acharya, whose activities are all wonderful. By his mercy, even a foolish person can describe his characteristics. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Adwaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivedanta. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda. All glories to Adwaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pancha Shloke Kohila Sri Nityananda Tattva Shloka Dwaye Kohi Adwaita Acharyara Mahatva. In 5 verses I have described the principle of Lord Nityananda. Then in the following 2 verses I describe the glories of Sri Adwaita Acharya. Maha-Vishnu Jagat Karta Maya Ya Sri Jati Araha Tashyavataram Evayam Adwaita Acharya Ishwaraha. Lord Adwaita Acharya is the incarnation of Maha-Vishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Advaitam Harinadvaitam Advaitam Harinadvaitad Acharyam Bhakti Samsanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Adwaita Acharyam Ashraye. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Adwaita. Because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore, I take shelter of him. Adwaita Acharya Gosai Sakarishwar Jahara Mahimanahe Jivera Gochar. Adwaita Acharya is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living beings. Maha-Vishnu Srishti Korana Jagadadi-karya Tara Avatara Sakat Adwaita Acharya. Maha-Vishnu performs all the functions for the creation of the universes. Sri Adwaita Acharya is his direct incarnation. Jai Purusha Srishti Stiti Korana Mayaya Ananda Brahmanda Srishti Korana Lilaya. That Purusha creates and maintains with his external energy. He creates innumerable universes in his pastimes. Ichayananda Murti Korana Prakash Ek Murti Koran Brahmande Pravesh. By his will, he manifests himself in unlimited forms, in which he enters each and every universe. Se Purushara Amsha Dvaitan Nahika Chubed Sharira Bishesha Tara Nahika Biched. Sri Adwaita Acharya is a plenary part of that Purusha, and so is not different from him. Indeed, Sri Adwaita Acharya is not separate, but is another form of that Purusha. Sahaya Koranatara Loya Pradhan Koti Brahmanda Koran Ichaya Nirman. He, Adwaita Acharya, helps in the pastimes of the Purusha, with whose material energy and by whose will he creates innumerable universes. Jagat Mangala Dvaita Mangala Gunadam Mangala Charitra Sada Mangala Jaranam. Being a reservoir of all auspicious attributes, Sri Adwaita Acharya is all auspicious for the world. His characteristics, activities, and name are always auspicious. Sri Adwaita Prabhu, who is an incarnation of Maha-Vishnu, is an Acharya or teacher. All his activities and all the other activities of Vishnu are auspicious. Anyone who can view the all-auspiciousness in the pastimes of Lord Vishnu also becomes auspicious simultaneously. Therefore, since Lord Vishnu is the fountainhead of all auspiciousness, anyone who is attracted by the devotional service of Lord Vishnu can render the greatest service to human society. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from condemned life, from conditioned life. Rejected persons of the material world who refuse to understand pure devotional service as the eternal function of the living entities and as actual liberation of the living being from conditioned life become bereft of all devotional service because of their poor fund of knowledge. In the teachings of Adwaita Prabhu, there is no question of fruitive activities or impersonal liberation. Bewildered by the spell of the material energy, however, persons who could not understand that Adwaita Prabhu was non-different from Vishnu wanted to follow him with their impersonal conceptions. The attempt of Adwaita Prabhu to punish them is also auspicious. Lord Vishnu and his activities can bestow all good fortune directly and indirectly. In other words, being favored by Lord Vishnu and being punished by Lord Vishnu are one and the same because all the activities of Vishnu are absolute. According to some, Mangala was another name of Adwaita Prabhu. As a causal incarnation, or Lord Vishnu's incarnation for a particular occasion, he is the supply agent or ingredient in material nature. However, he is never to be considered material. All his activities are spiritual. Anyone who hears about and glorifies him becomes glorified himself. For such activities free one from all kinds of misfortune. One should not invest any material contamination. One should not invest any material contamination or impersonalism in the Vishnu form. Everyone should try to understand the real identity of Lord Vishnu, for by such knowledge one can attain the highest stage of perfection. Koti Amsha, Koti Shakti, Koti Avatar, Etalaya Shriji Purusha, Etalaya Shriji Purusha Sakala Samsar, Koti Amsha Koti Shakti Koti Avatar, Etalaya Shriji Purusha Sakala Samsar. Maha-Vishnu creates the entire material world with millions of his parts, energies, and incarnations. Maya Jaiche Dui Amsha Nimita Upadan, Maya Nimita Hetu Upadana Pradhan, Purusha Ishvara Aiche Dui Murti Hoya, Vishva Shrishti Kore Nimita Upadana Loya. Just as the external energy consists of two parts, the efficient cause, nimitta, and the material cause, upadan, Maya being the efficient cause, and pradhan, the material cause, so Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, assumes two forms to create the material world with the efficient and material causes. Just as external energy consists of two parts, the efficient cause, nimitta, and the material cause, upadan, Maya being the efficient cause, and pradhan, the material cause, so Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, assumes two forms to create the material world with the efficient and material causes. There are two kinds of research to find the original cause of creation. One conclusion is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the all-blissful, eternal, all-knowing form, is indirectly the cause of this cosmic manifestation and directly the cause of the spiritual world, where there are innumerable spiritual planets known as Vaikunthas, as well as his personal abode known as Goloka Vrindavan. In other words, there are two manifestations, the material cosmos and the spiritual world. As in the material world there are innumerable planets and universes, so in the spiritual world, there are also innumerable spiritual planets and universes, including the Vaikunthas and Goloka. The Supreme Lord is the cause of both the material and spiritual worlds. The other conclusion, of course, is that this cosmic manifestation is caused by an inexplicable, unmanifested void. This argument is meaningless. The first conclusion is accepted by the Vedanta philosophers, and the second is supported by the atheistic philosophical system of the Sankhya Smriti, which directly opposes the Vedantic philosophical conclusion. Material scientists cannot see any cognizant spiritual substance that might be the cause of the creation. Such atheistic Sankhya philosophers think that the symptoms of knowledge and living force visible in the innumerable living creatures are caused by the three qualities of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, the Sankhyaites are against the conclusion of Vedanta regarding the original cause of creation. Factually, the Supreme Absolute Spirit Soul is the cause of every kind of manifestation, and he is always complete, both as the energy and as the energetic. The cosmic manifestation is caused by the energy of the Supreme Absolute Person, in whom all energies are conserved. Philosophers who are subjectively engaged in the cosmic manifestation can appreciate only the wonderful energies of matter. Such philosophers accept the conception of God only as a product of the material energy. According to their conclusions, the source of the energy is also a product of the energy. Such philosophers wrongly observe that the living creatures within the cosmic manifestation are caused by the material energy, and they think that the Supreme Absolute Consciousness, and they think that the Supreme Absolute Conscious Being must similarly be a product of the material energy. Since materialistic philosophers and scientists are too much engaged with their imperfect senses, naturally they conclude that the living force is a product of a material combination. but the actual fact is just the opposite. Matter is a product of spirit. According to the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Spirit, the personality of Godhead, is the source of all energies. When one advances in research work by studying a limited substance within the limits of space and time, one is amazed by the various wonderful cosmic manifestations, and naturally one goes on hypnotically accepting the path of research work or the inductive method. Through the deductive way of understanding, however, one accepts the Supreme Absolute Person, the personality of Godhead, as the cause of all causes, who is full with diverse energies and who is neither impersonal nor void. The impersonal manifestation of the Supreme Person is another display of his energy. Therefore, the conclusion that matter is the original cause of creation is completely different from the real truth. The material manifestation is caused by the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is inconceivably potent. Material nature is electrified by the Supreme Authority, and the conditioned soul, within the limits of time and space, is trapped by awe of the material manifestation. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually realized in the vision of the material philosopher and scientist through the manifestations of his material energy. For one who does not understand the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his diverse energies, because of not knowing the relationship between the source of the energies and the energies themselves, there is always a chance of error, which is known as vivarta. As long as materialistic scientists and philosophers do not come to the right conclusion, certainly they will hover above the material field, bereft of proper understanding of the absolute truth. The great Vaishnava philosopher Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan has very nicely explained the materialistic conclusion in his Govinda Bhasha, a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. He writes as follows. The Sankhya philosopher Kapila has connected the different elementary truths according to his own opinion. Material nature, according to him, consists of the equilibrium of the three material qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Material nature produces the material energy known as Mahat, and Mahat produces the false ego. The ego produces the 5 objects of sense perception, which produce the 10 senses, 5 for acquiring knowledge and 5 for working, the mind, and the 5 gross elements. Counting the Purusha, or the enjoyer, with these 24 elements, there are 25 different truths. The non-manifested stage of these 25 elementary truths is called Prakriti, or material nature. The qualities of material nature can associate in 3 different stages, namely as the cause of happiness, the cause of distress, and the cause of illusion. The quality of goodness is the cause of material happiness. The quality of passion is the cause of material distress. And the quality of ignorance is the cause of illusion. Our material experience lies within the boundaries of these 3 manifestations of happiness, distress, and illusion. For example, a beautiful woman is certainly a cause of material happiness for one who possesses her as a wife. But the same beautiful woman is a cause of distress to a man whom she rejects or who is the cause of her anger. And if she leaves a man, she becomes the cause of illusion. The 2 kinds of senses and the 10 external senses and the 1 internal sense, the mind. The 2 kinds of senses are the 10 external senses and the 1 internal sense, the mind. Thus there are 11 senses. According to Kapila, material nature is eternal and all-powerful. Originally there is no spirit and matter has no cause. Matter itself is the chief cause of everything. It is the all-pervading cause of all causes. So this is according to the materialist known as Kapila, who propounds the Sankhya or impersonal philosophy. The Sankhya philosophy regards the total energy Mahatattva, the false ego, and the five objects of sense perception as the seven diverse manifestations of material nature, which has two features, known as the material cause and the efficient cause. The Purusha, the enjoyer, is without transformation, whereas material nature is always subject to transformation. So what this is describing here is a statement about Sri Adwaita. Just as external energy consists of two parts, the efficient cause, nimitta, and the material cause, upadan, Maya being the efficient cause and pradhan the material cause, so Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, assumes two forms to create the material world with the efficient and material causes. So the material cause, upadan, the efficient cause, nimitta, and the material cause, upadan. Upadan means like the ingredients of the material nature. And nimitta means the action of Maya in producing the material nature. So then this goes on for some pages about the two causes of the material nature, nimitta, which here is nimitta and pradhan, the cause and the ingredients of the material nature. So I'll go on from here. Apane Purusha Vishvara Nimitta Karan Advaita Rupe Upadan Ana Narayan. Lord Vishnu himself is the efficient nimitta cause of the material world, and Narayan in the form of Sri Adwaita is the material cause, upadan. So in this way, Sri Adwaita Acharya is said to be an incarnation of Maha-Vishnu. Lord Vishnu himself is the efficient nimitta cause of the material world, and Narayan in the form of Sri Adwaita is the material cause, upadan. Nimittam shekorete ho mayate ikan upadana dvaita koran brahmanda srijan. Lord Vishnu, in his efficient aspect, glances over the material energy, and Sri Adwaita, as the material cause, creates the material world. So the glance of Vishnu glances over the material nature. So that is what is called the efficient cause, nimitta. His glance impregnates the material nature with so many souls. But who actually, then his glance comes personified as Rudra, as Lord Shiva. Lord Vishnu never touches the material nature, but he glances over the material nature. Then it says Sri Adwaita, as the material cause, creates the material world. He's the pradhan. He gives all the ingredients and everything for creating the material world. Yadyapi sankyamane pradhan karan jadahoite kabu nahi jagat srijan. Although the Sankhya philosophy accepts that the material ingredients are the cause, the creation of the world never arises from dead matter. Nija Shrishti Shakti Prabhu Sanchare Pradhane Ishvarera Shakye Tabe Hoyeta Nirmane. Nija Shrishti Shakti Prabhu Sanchare Pradhane Ishvarera Shakyetabe hoyeta nirmane. The Lord infuses the material ingredients with his own creative potency. Then, by the power of the Lord, creation takes place. Advaita rupe kore shakti sancharan ateva dvaita hoyan mukyakaran. In the form of Advaita, he infuses the material ingredients with creative energy. Therefore, Advaita is original cause of creation. Adwaita Acharya Koti Brahmandera Karta Ara Eg Murti Brahmandera Bharta. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the creator of millions and millions of universes, and by his expansions as Garbhodakshay Vishnu, he maintains each and every universe. First there's Maha-Vishnu, and so many universes are coming from his breathing and from his pores of his body. They're all coming out. So many universes. But then the Lord expands himself as Garbhodakshay Vishnu and enters into each universe. Se Narayanara Mukya Anga Dvaita Anga Shabde Amshakori Kohe Bhagavata. Sri Adwaita is the principal limb, Anga, of Narayan. Srimad Bhagavatam speaks of limb, Anga, as a plenary portion, Amsha, of the Lord. Narayanas Twamna Isarvadehinam Atmasi Adishakila Lokashakshi Narayanongam Narabhujalayanat Tachapi Satyam Natai Vaivamaya. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not, therefore, my father, Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So this is all referring to the illusion of Lord Brahma. When Lord Brahma one time seeing Krishna's childhood activities, he's thinking that Krishna is like a playful boy or a foolish boy, so he thinks he'll play a joke on him. So he steals all the cowherd boys and all the cows and puts them in a cave and blocks the cave with stone so they can't get out. And then he goes back to see what kind of commotion this has caused. But when he comes back, he sees there is Krishna with all his cowherd friends and all the calves who were stolen by Brahma. They're still playing like nothing had happened. So he's very confused. What is happening? He goes back to the cave and looks inside the cave. And there everyone is still there. He's put them asleep with yoga nidra. They're still there. But then he goes back to Krishna and he sees Krishna is still there with all the cowherd boys and calves that he had stolen. And then gradually, he's seeing from all the calves and cowherd boys that a Vishnu form of the Lord is coming up. And then he can't understand. What Krishna has done is Krishna has expanded himself personally again as all the calves and cowherd boys that were stolen by Brahma. So then Brahma says this verse is from that pastime. He says, O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest friend. Are you not therefore my father Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, and that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So Brahma says that because he is born from Narayan, he's born from the lotus navel of the Lord comes a lotus, and in the stem of that Lord Brahma is born. So his father is Narayan and Vishnu, and then so he says, "Are you, O Lord of Lord, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father Narayan?" And then Krishna says, "What are you talking about, Brahma? I'm just a small cowherd boy, and your father's Narayan. How can I be your father? I'm just a cowherd boy." So, but Krishna is the source of everything. Although in his pastimes he's appearing like that. So Brahma says like that. Aren't you my father, Narayan? Ishvarera angamsha chidanandamoy mayara sambandha nahi eshlokikoy. This verse describes that the limbs and plenary portions of the Lord are all spiritual. They have no relationship with the material energy. Amshanaka hiya kene kohe tare anga amsha hoite anga chate hoy antaranga. Why has Sri Adwaita been called a limb and not a part? The reason is that limb implies greater intimacy. Maha-Vishnu Ramsha Adwaita Gunadam Ishvare Abeda Te Adwaita Purnanam. Sri Adwaita, who is a reservoir of virtues, is the main limb of Maha-Vishnu. His full name is Adwaita, for he is identical in all respects with that Lord. So, as I said before, what's being described in all these chapters is what's called ontological development. If you want understanding who's Adwaita Acharya, if you can understand he's Maha-Vishnu, who is Nityananda Prabhu, non-different from Balaram and all the expansions of Balaram, like Mahashankarshan and the quadruple expansions and the Purusha avatars. He's the source of everything. That is Nityananda. And Mahaprabhu is Krishna, covered with the mood and the color of Srimati Radharani. So if we can understand who these personalities are, then we can begin to understand something of their actions and activities. So that understanding of who they are, which is a lot of what these chapters are doing before they start with the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, is called ontological development, understanding the nature of each person. Sri Adwaita, who is a reservoir of virtues, is the main limb of Mahavishnu. His full name is Adwaita, for he is identical in all respects with that Lord. Purve Jai Che Koila Sarva Vishvara Srijan Avatare Koila Ebe Bhakti Pravartan. As he had formerly created all the universe, now as he formerly created all the universes, now he descended to introduce the path of bhakti. Jiva Nishtarila Krishna Bhakti Koridan Gita Bhagavate Koila Bhaktira Bhyakyan. He delivered all living beings by offering the gift of Krishna Bhakti. He explained the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the light of devotional service. Although Sri Adwaita Prabhu is an incarnation of Vishnu, for the welfare of the conditioned souls. Who is that? Okay. He delivered all the living beings by offering the gift of Krishna Bhakti. He explained the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in the light of devotional service. Although Sri Adwaita Prabhu is an incarnation of Vishnu, for the welfare of the conditioned souls, he manifested himself as a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and throughout all his activities, he showed himself to be an eternal servitor. So all the expansions of the Lord, Srila Prabhupada calls them the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. They're all expanded, but they're all in the mood of being servants or devotees of the Lord. Even though, in the case of Adwaita Acharya, he's an expansion of the Lord himself. He's Mahavishnu, but still his mood is to be a servitor of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although Sri Adwaita Prabhu is an incarnation of Vishnu, for the welfare of the conditioned souls, he manifested himself as the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and throughout all his activities, he showed himself to be an eternal servitor. Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda also manifested the same principle, although they also belong to the category of Vishnu. If Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Adwaita Prabhu had exhibited their all-powerful Vishnu potencies within this material world, people would 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 have become greater impersonalists, modest, and self-worshippers than they had already become under the spell of this age. So they didn't show themselves as the Lord. Everybody wants to think themselves as being non-different from the Lord. That's the impersonal philosophy. Impersonalists say, you don't have to serve the Lord. You are the Lord. Therefore, the personality of Godhead and his different incarnations and forms played the parts of devotees to instruct the conditioned souls how to approach the transcendental stage of devotional service. Adwaita Acharya especially intended to teach the conditioned souls about devotional service. The word Acharya means teacher. The special function of such a teacher is to make people Krishna conscious. A bona fide teacher following in the footsteps of Adwaita Acharya has no other business than to spread the principles of Krishna consciousness all over the world. The real qualification of an Acharya is that he presents himself as a servant of the Supreme. Such a bona fide Acharya can never support the demoniac activities of atheistic men who present themselves as God. It is the main business of an Acharya to defy such impostors posing as God before the innocent public. Bhakti Upadesh Binu Tara Nahi Karya Ateva Nama Hoila Adwaita Acharya. Since he has no other occupation than to teach devotional service, his name is Adwaita Acharya. Vaishnavera Guru Teho Jagatera Arya Duinama Milane Hoila Adwaita Acharya. He is the spiritual master of all devotees and is the most revered personality in the world. By a combination of these two names, his name is Adwaita Acharya. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the prime spiritual master of the Vaishnavas, and he is worshipable by all Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas must follow in the footsteps of Adwaita Acharya, for by so doing, one can actually engage in the devotional service of the Lord. Kamala Nayanera Teho Jate Anga Amsha Kamalaka Kori Dare Nama Abatamsha. Since he is a limb or part of the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord, he also bears the name Kamalaksha, lotus eyes. Kamalaksha means lotus-eyed. Ishvara Sarupyapaya Parishadagan Chaturbhuja Pitavasha Jajinarayan. His associates have the same bodily features as the Lord. They all have 4 arms and are dressed in yellow garments like Narayan. Adwaita Acharya Ishvara Amshabharya Tara Tattva Namaguna Sakali Ascharya. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the principal limb of the Supreme Lord. His truths, names, and attributes are all wonderful. Jahara tulasi jale, Jahara hunkare, Swagana sahite chaitanyara avatare. He worshipped Krishna with tulsi leaves and water of the Ganges and called for him in a loud voice. Thus Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared on earth accompanied by his personal associates. Jara Dwara Koila Prabhu Kirtana Prachar, Jara Dwara Koila Prabhu Jagat Nishtar. It is through him, Adwaita Acharya, that Lord Chaitanya spread the Sankirtan movement, and through him that he delivered the world. Acharya Gosara Guna Mahima Apar Jiva Kita Katai Paibekatarapar. The glory and attributes of Adwaita Acharya are unlimited. How can the insignificant living entities fathom them? Acharya Gosai Chaitanyara Mukhya Anga Ara Ek Angatara Prabhu Nityananda. Sri Adwaita Acharya is the principal limb of Lord Chaitanya. Another limb of the Lord is Nityananda Prabhu. Prabhura Upanga Shiva Sari Bhaktagan Hasta Mukhya Netra Anga Chakradi Astranam Astrasam, the devotees headed by Srivas are his smaller limbs. They are like hands, face, and eyes, and his disc and other weapons. Esab loya Chaitanya Prabhu Bihar, Esab loya Koren, Banjita Prachar. With all of them, Lord Chaitanya performed his pastimes, and with them he spread his mission. So I'm going to stop at this point because it's getting a little late. Tomorrow we'll continue with reading about the qualities and nature of Sri Adwaita Acharya. So now sing Hari Haraya.
May I close, Maharaj?
Okay.
Shishi Guru
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan Giridhari Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adwaita Chandra Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Adwaita Chandra Garadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Garadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Sapada Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Ja hoite Vignana Shabishta Puran Ja hoite Vignana Shabishta Puran Jai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Jai Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasava Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tasava Pada Renu Mora Panchagras Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Abhilas Janame Janame More Abhilas Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas Shri Guru Vaishnava Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Goranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakya Acharya Statara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakya Acharya Statara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakya Acharya Statara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasharagana Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Adwaita Acharya Shivasati Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Vishvabaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavad Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Vishvabaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Sri Ram Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat, Mat Ki Jai, Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat, Seva Ashram Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan, Shamakunda Radhakunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.